What is up, everybody? Z3KO Trinity here. Today is a wonderful day. In another chapter of our chapter, I don't know why I did that for, but this is another chapter of Stephen King previews. Today we will be previewing Black House. Now, if you don't know what Black House is, hello Matthew, thank you for joining. If you don't know what Black House is, it is actually a sequel to The Talisman. It is written by Stephen King and Peter Straub. And this takes place, I think, years after, 20 years. Yeah, 20 years after the first book. I have not read this one yet, so I'm going to preview it for you guys and myself. Also, in a video earlier, I did a video just a few minutes ago. It will be uploaded probably tomorrow. But I gave shout outs to a lot of people. And there's one special person that I forgot to mention. And that was El Manuel. Not because I forgot about you or anything like that. It's just it got to the point where I started getting emotional. And I wanted to kind of cut it from there as quickly as I could. But I wanted to give a huge shout out. He's been one of my best friends. I work with him every day at work. And he helps me. He's a big inspiration for my channel. He gives me a lot of ideas. He is just a really good guy. And I'm glad to call him my friend. So, big shout out to El Manuel, also known as Levi. But let's take a look at the book. And Matthew, I gave you a shout out in the other video too, but a big shout out to Matthew Mangov. I've never read either of them. Talisman was very good. I have read The Talisman. It is very, very good. So I would highly recommend it. I desperately need to read this one, but I need to get myself back into the reading habit again. So, anyway, let's take a look. The art is all black. The whole cover is black. It looks like it's got a dusty footprint. I don't know if you guys can see that. It's like a footprint. And then at the top of the picture is just this house and a tree. But let's see, the back of it has a little house and looks like a tree beside it too. So let's just check this out. It says, right here and now, which is in the first book, one of the chapters. Right here and now, as an old friend used to say, we are in the fluid present, where clear-sightedness never guarantees perfect vision. Here, about 200 feet, the height of a gliding eagle above Wisconsin's far western edge, where the vagaries, I don't know what that word says. It's like vagaries or something right there. I'm killing that word, but of the Mississippi River declare a natural border. Now, an early Friday morning in mid-July, a few years into both a new century and a new millennium, their wayward courses so hidden that a blind man has a better chance of seeing what lies ahead than you or I. ... Was that enough to really catch your guys' attention? For me, since I have not read this one, but I have read The Talisman, I know the characters already. I can see as an old friend, I can already see him in my mind. And I'm wondering if he's dead or something, but I mean, there's no spoiler or anything like that because I personally don't know. But based on what I've read about this, it's not really enough to pull me in, but from reading The Talisman, it does kind of pull me in, if that makes sense. What about you guys? Did any of that kind of make you go, oh, maybe I should read this book? But if not, let's see what it says in here. Let me take my little paper out before it falls randomly. I've showed it before, but this is kind of the design that I use whenever I fill out my paper and stuff. I usually do start it and then write the date, half of the book, however many pages, and whatever date that is, and so on and so forth. 20 years ago, a boy named Jack Sawyer traveled to a parallel universe called the Territories to save his mother and her Territories twinner from an agonizing death that would have brought cataclysm to the other world. Now, Jack is a retired Los Angeles homicide detective living in the nearly non-existent hamlet of Tamarack, Wisconsin. Jesus Christ. He has no recollection of his adventures in the Territories and was compelled to leave the police force when an odd happenstance event threatened to awaken those memories when a series of gruesome murders occur in western Wisconsin that are reminiscent of those committed several decades ago by a madman named Albert Fish. Albert Fish, for you guys who, if you don't know, is actually a real-life killer. He is one of the most sickest serial killers to have ever existed. They called him the Vampire because he used to kill little girls and little boys, and he would eat their flesh and drink their blood. But also, and this is a little grotesque, so if you don't want to hear this part, skip about 10 seconds, but he used to punish himself after he would commit the crimes. He would whip himself with a bullwhip, and then afterwards he would inject these little needles inside his testicles, like inside there. Yeah, so it's actually real. I'm dead serious. But it's weird that they put a real serial killer in this book, but let's continue. The killer is dubbed the Fisherman, and Jack, which is also true. He was also called the Vampire, though. And Jack's buddy, the local chief of police, begs Jack to help the inexperienced force find him. But are these new killings merely the work of a disturbed individual, or has a mysterious and malignant force been unleashed in this quiet town? What causes Jack's inexplicable waking dreams, if that is what they are, of robin's eggs and red feathers? It's almost as if someone is trying to tell him something. And I don't really want to read too much into it, just in case if it gives like way too much away. But was that enough to really pull you guys in? I say it definitely does. At least it does for me. Because A, it's using an actual serial killer, Albert Fish. That's very different about Stephen King's books. Usually everything he does, he makes up. But knowing what I know from the first book, I'm wondering, what the connection is and what the story's going to take us. And just the way that it was written here was just so, poetic. And then, the dreams of robin's eggs and red feathers, they have a deeper meaning, I'm sure. So, yeah, this definitely would pull me in. It actually makes me want to read it, right now, too. But, if that wasn't enough, let's see what the first sentence of the page. The chapter's called Right Here and Now. Part 1, Welcome to Coley County. Coley Country, my bad. It says, right here, it's at the top of my head. It says, right here and now, as an old friend used to say, we are in the fluid present. Wait, it's the whole back of the book is the first sentence already. Well, then we don't even have to do that. So there you go, guys. The whole back of the book was the first sentence of the actual story. So, that's actually kind of interesting. I like that. So, yeah, this book definitely pulled me in. What about you guys? Do you guys think that what I have read and what we have seen from the book, if you went into a library and you saw this book, of course you're going to realize it's part 2, but would it make you want to go, well, I need to read part 1 first and actually look for it? Or would this just totally be a pass for you guys? But that was the preview of The Black House. Next up on our list, let's see, thank you for joining, Cameron. What's up? I have Black House, but not the Talisman. Yeah, the Talisman definitely came first. Sorry I can't stay. I'm streaming Kingdom Hearts 2. Oh, okay, cool. Well, thank you for joining, Graham. Does it matter whether you read Talisman? Yeah, it definitely matters. You have to read the Talisman first. And happy Friday the 13th, everybody. Freaking Jason Day. I should do a video with his mask on. But next up on our lineup, we have From a Buick 8. This book has a lot of meaning to me because this was actually a graduation gift given to me by an old friend of mine, speaking of old friends. And I don't really talk to him that much anymore. He's gotten married and had 2 kids now, so congratulations to him on that. But a long time ago, 10 years ago, when I graduated from high school, he gave me this book. So this book has a lot of meaning to me from that. But From a Buick 8 was actually a very good book. I read it in like one day back then when I was reading like hardcore and could be able to finish like a book this size in a day. Now it'd probably take me about 5 or 6 days or maybe even weeks to finish this because of my work schedule and all that. But anyway, let's take a look at the art, shall we? The artwork on this book is magnificent. You have the Buick on the front, a shining coming from the window. And if you look carefully, it looks like he's got teeth. Like this, it's the eyeball there and the teeth right there. But if you open the book all the way and show the back as well, it connects to a police car. As if the car is changing from that to a police car. So I think the design, and on the back it says there are Buicks everywhere. So if this was sitting in a bookstore and you saw this, I believe 100% just by art alone, I would immediately want to see what this is about. So let's open the thing and let's read the little flap here. We have: the state police of Troop D in rural Pennsylvania have kept a secret in Shed B out back of the barracks ever since 1979, when troopers Ennis Rafferty and Curtis Wilcox answered a call from a gas station down the road and came back with an abandoned Buick Roadmaster. Kurt Wilcox knew old cars, and he knew immediately that this one was wrong, just wrong. A few hours later, when Rafferty vanished, Wilcox and his fellow troopers knew the car was worse than dangerous, and that it would be better if John Q, and that's all it says, public never found out about it. Curtis' avid curiosity took the lead, and they investigated as best they could, as much as they dared. Over the years, the troop absorbed the mystery as part of the background to their work. The Buick 8 sitting out there like a still life painting that breathes, inhaling a little bit of this world and exhaling a little bit of whatever world it came from. Now that is freaking poetry. If I picked up this book and read that little part, immediately I would be like, ooh, I want to read this. I don't know about you guys, but me personally, I think that this would be worth reading just by reading that. But if that was not enough to satisfy, and keep in mind, guys, I say this every video, but keep in mind, what if we don't know who Stephen King is? Of course, this being like a later book, I'm sure you'll know who he is by now. But let's just say you've lived under a rock for 1,000,000 years, and you went into a bookstore and you're like, I want to read something good, something scary. Would this be, from the picture and what we've read of the side cover, would that be enough for you to be like, okay, I want to read this? Me personally, yeah. But let's just say you are still like and still don't sound very good. So let's read what the first paragraph says. The chapter's called Now Sandy. Kurt Wilcox's boy came around the barracks a lot the year after his father died. I mean a lot. But nobody ever told him to get out of the way or asked him what in the hail, spelled as hail that falls from the sky, he was doing down there again. We understood what he was doing, trying to hold on to the memory of his father. Cops know a lot about the psychology of grief. Most of us know more about it than we want to. That was Ned Wilcox's senior year at Startler High. He must have quit off the football team when it came time for choosing. He picked D Troop instead. Hard to imagine a kid doing that, choosing unpaid choring over all those Friday night games, not the movie, God, and Saturday night parties. But that's what he did. I don't think any of us talked to him about that choice, but we respect him for it. He had decided the time had come to put the games away, that's all. Grown men are frequently incapable of making such decisions. Ned made his at an age when he still couldn't buy a legal drink. And that's pretty much the whole first big paragraph of the page. I can continue the whole page, but it does not mention the Buick or anything like that in the whole page. But still, was that enough to kind of catch your attention? I like how it started off with the boy talking about how he lost his father and that he hangs around there to keep the memory going and stuff like that. It's kind of poetic because me being a reader and a horror movie lover and just a scary story lover in general, I could kind of see like something, down the line, like, oh, this boy is in grief still. Maybe this car, because we already know it's about an evil car, we just don't know anything about it at this point. But we're going to immediately think like this evil car might have to do something with that boy's grief. Maybe it'll show him his father. Maybe it'll promise his father to return if it just came to the car or something like that. But was that enough to catch your guys' attention for this book? I would say 100% it did for me. I think my brother had that book, I think. I got a book, need to read Daniel Brown's book. Oh yeah. I want to get Austin Aries' new book, but yeah, if I did get it, I won't read it. Well then what would be the point in getting it? Oh, that's funny. But that's like me. I buy new Stephen King books and haven't read hardly any of them. But yeah, was that enough to really catch your guys' attention? Next up on our lineup is the very first Stephen King book I've ever read. Well, I had them read to me because I was young and my mom was like, you can pick out one book and I'll read it to you. And this one, I chose this one because it was short stories. And I was like, oh, we can read these ones. Plus, I just thought it was cool how it had that cup there with the blood. And I always heard of Stephen King being the scariest, like the creme de la creme of scariness when I was growing up. So immediately, I'm like, okay, I need to read Stephen King. It's going to scare the holy hell out of me, but I want to read Stephen King. So as soon as I saw this book when in the library, I was like, ah. And also, fun fact, when I first started my Stephen King book collection, this was the very first one I bought. Simply because it was the very first one I've ever read, and I just wanted it to be the very first one that I ever bought. But without all that knowledge, you don't know who Stephen King is, you walk into the store, would this front cover be enough to really catch your guys' attention? Me personally, I feel like it does because it's like this really beautiful set of like a diner dish set. In the background, you got those napkins perfectly placed in the cups. Everything is all silver. Everything's all beautiful except for the main cup up front filled with water, and it looks like a drop of blood. Now, this should get an award for the art design. I personally feel it should. The next page, when you flip it over, every single one of that stuff has been destroyed, been covered in blood. I mean, it's way opposite than the beautiful of this. But also, if you... see, I should have took the paper out. Otherwise, I wouldn't do that shit. Okay. But if you open it all the way up, it's like, you know, the pages are connected. They got those little full set there. And on the napkin in the very far corner, it says, "Oh God, help us." Or, "Oh God, please help us." I always thought just the cover of this terrified me when I was a kid. So, would the art alone be enough for you to go, "Oh, I want to read that"? Yes, 1,000,000%, because it did for me. But if that wasn't enough, we're going to read the side page. The first collection of stories... oh wait, that's praising Stephen King. We need to go down... okay, here we go. I think. Riding the Bullet, which, by the way, is one of my favorite Stephen King movies that I've ever watched. Also, it's one of my favorite stories that I've read, too. Riding the Bullet, published here on paper for the first time, is the story of Alan Parker, who's hitchhiking to see his dying mother, but takes the wrong ride farther than he ever intended. In lunch at the Gotham Cafe, a sparring couple's continuous lunch turns very, very bloody when the matriade gets out of sorts. 1408, the famous story. The audio story in print for the first time is about a successful writer whose specialty is 10 Nights in 10 Haunted Graveyards or 10 Nights in 10 Houses. And is it actually going to work? Oh my God, it is working. Thank you, Jesus. I'm hoping it's not like a new video, because that would be bad. Yeah, my internet went... alright, I don't know how long it's going to work, guys, or if it even is working now. But anyway, it's a bunch of short stories for here. I don't know if we even finished the 1408 one, but it says, "After the Dolphin Hotel doesn't kill him, he won't be writing about ghosts anymore. And in that feeling, you can only say what it is in French. Terror is déjà vu at 16,000 feet. Whether writing about encounters with the dead, the near-dead, or about the mundane dreads of life, from quitting smoking to yard sales, Stephen King is blah, 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 blah." I'm just going to read you the names of the short stories for this preview. And I want to apologize. I don't know. My internet went out completely, and then I had to reset everything. It was just out of the blue, sunny as can be, so my internet shouldn't be that bad. But that's just how it is wherever I live. So, but here's a cool little thing I want to read you guys. Well, yeah, I'll just read it for you. "What I did was take all the spades out of a deck of cards plus a joker. Ace to king equals 1, 2, 13, and a joker is 14. I shuffled the cards and dealt them. The order in which they came out of the deck became the order of the stories based on their position in my list of the list of publishers sent me." So I always thought that that was really cool idea. So if I ever write a book of short stories, I want to do that. But we have introduction, then we have Autopsy Room 4, The Man in the Black Suit, which I believe to be a big connection with the Dark Tower books. All That You Love Will Be Carried Away, The Death of Jack Hamilton, In the Death Room, The Little Sisters of Eloria, Everything's Eventual, LT's Theory of Pets, The Road Virus Heads North, The Lunch at the Gotham Cafe, The Feeling You Can Only Say What It Is in French, 1408, Riding the Bullet, and Lucky Quarter. So yeah, Was this enough to catch your guys' attention? I think it does. I think the short names of the short stories sound really good. I love the artwork, and just everything about it was really good. So yeah, I would definitely pick this book up and read it. But the question is, which one was your guys' top favorite of the three books? Which one stood out the most? Which one gave a better presentation? And which one gave the least better presentation? I'm leaving it all up to you guys. Please comment below. Let me know what you think. And thank you for enjoying the video, what we could, because of the dumb internet. And my cat is out the door cussing me out. He's like, let me in, goddamn you! But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I'm Z3KO Trinity, and I guess see you in the next video. Bye-bye. Dooskies.